Thank you for the introduction. So I hope everybody might have come here using their vehicles today. And despite all the traffic and all the road that you travel, there's something that you need every time. That is a one technology that navigates you everywhere. The GPS, as you might popularly know it. Well, GPS is not so easy and not actually what we call it. This actually stands for Global Navigation Satellite System, is what we truly know it for. So the actual story is quite similar. We have popularized various technologies with some other names. If we want a photocopy of anything, we just say Xerox it. If we want to search anything, we say Google it. The same is known for GNSS as well. What we call it is GPS, but actual technology is GNSS. So here we see how it can describe a bigger world and explore the world of tolling. So just to begin with, how it is, well, across the world, today, different technologies are used for tolling. In India, as you might see, and popularly known as FASTag is being used, but various different countries have used different technologies here, as you might see. RFID, the popularly technology on FASTag, you have GNSS, then you have DSRC as well. And across the world, as you see, specifically in Europe, is wherein GNSS is majorly focused on. Now, GNSS started in 2005 specifically from Germany. The commercial vehicles were mandated to use GNSS devices into their system, and this is how the entire tolling happened free flow. And since the entire European Union specifically has free flow trade across its border, this model became interoperable. And that's today we stand here is wherein pretty much the entire Europe is using the global navigation satellite system. So today, as we have come a long way specifically in tolling, let's see what is happening in India. So the entire system started in 2016 with the launch of NETC, wherein the FASTag program actually launched. December 2019 was wherein it was mandated across all the lanes, and gradually it took some time to reach out there, wherein every toll plaza, if you had a FASTag, you could just zoom past by. But gradually it came in January 21, where FASTags were mandatory on all the vehicles wherever you want to travel. Today, we are processing more than 150 crore plus toll collection single day, and we proudly stand at 5.7 crore plus NETC FASTags across the ecosystem. But then, you might say, what's next? Well, that's the bigger question here. What next? How about we dream about a future? Or better, let's envision it. This is how the entire future might look like. And this is the news headline which might feel here, wherein you can pay your entire tolls using GNSS devices just inside your car. This will give you a free flow experience wherein you won't have to stop anywhere, and you will pay specifically of the distance that you have traveled. So what is the advantages specifically for you? Well, for the users, as I previously mentioned, you will have free flow tolling experience. No stopping anywhere. Nobody's going to stop you and say, okay, this is not working or that system is not working. Too much hassle across the toll plaza system. Not anymore. And secondly, you'll only pay specific to the distance you are traveling. How cool is that? Well, today, even if you are using half of the highway, you still have to pay the complete toll fare. Not anymore. The half the toll fare, the half the amount. And that is where this entire system comes in. But is the ecosystem also at advantage? Yes, it is. Specifically, you will have across the equipments in the devices will be standardized. Also, you would have increased usage of telematics devices telling you your vehicle performance on various different sensors. How much is the fuel left? How is your device performing? And also, wherein you can travel and use various different use cases for it. Tolling is just the beginning of it. So now imagine I am a complete new customer and okay, I want to use this technology, but if I do not have a car, what do I do so? Or specifically, if I do not have a car which does not have any device, and therefore, this solution is what we are bringing on 3 different form factors. The first on your left is an onboard unit. It's a small device, little bigger than your mobile phone, which can be fitted and in a plug and play mode in your vehicle, and this will directly be integrated with the server. And this entire thing can then be automated. You don't have to do anything else. Secondly, you might ask, if my car already has an infotainment system, do I still use it? Yes, you can use it. And that is where you do not need to spend anything extra in getting it integrated. Thirdly, let's suppose there's a new college student who has just bought a car. But what if they also want to use this feature? Do they still want to integrate yet again thousands of rupees to have this feature? Well, not so. You can simply use your mobile device. Everybody has that across the world and use it. But we are popularly heard, with great responsibilities come also great challenges. And this is where there are some few which we have to adapt to. So looking at the form factors in a little bit deeper manner, specifically, the main advantage of an onboard unit is it is specifically being designed for tolling purposes. Currently in Europe, as we have it, all form factors, specifically the commercial vehicles, are using it. And that too, with a huge good accuracy, roughly about in the vicinity of 3 meters. Yes, currently, if you go on your mobile phone and just send a location to anybody right away, you might see the location accuracy might not go beyond 10 meters. But this system requires an accuracy of something in the vicinity of 3 meters. And that is where this system becomes highly accurate. Cost is one of the biggest obstacles, because if I'm driving an Alto, probably I might not spend 1,000 to 7,000 rupees specifically for a tolling device. And this is where an onboard unit is specifically a big obstacle in customer readiness. Coming to our next form factor, that is an infotainment. The biggest advantage, it is standardized and readily available in your cars. The only obstacle it has is currently not all different OEMs have their accuracy tested through which it can directly be launched. And that is why we need a standardization so that different brands of car does not give you a different toll amount. And finally, we come to our most favorite form factor, and that is the mobile phone. Now, the biggest advantage, everybody has it today. Be it any form of payment, you need to have a mobile, and that is where we really want to leverage that form factor too. Because that is where, once the mobile form factor is also leveraged into, you will see the full power of GNSS-based tolling. The obstacles here are also there. Why? Because the accuracy of a mobile phone does not give you precise location every time. Sometimes it may, sometimes it might not. And what if a customer actually raises a question, my mobile phone wasn't functioning and therefore I couldn't pay a toll? That should not be the case. And therefore, similar standards would be implemented across for the mobile phones as well, so that be it app permissions, device specifications, as well as battery health should not come in your way in your free flow tolling experience. So
with the vision to give the country a better toll infrastructure, NPCI keeps on innovating to provide better and easier facilities for the citizens, which allows citizens to cross tolls without stopping and with accurate toll charges. And one such initiative is the Global Navigation Satellite System, that is GNSS. Let us know how it works. The customer buys an onboard unit, that is OBU, from the registered onboard unit vendor and get the configured onboard unit installed in the vehicle. The customer will be onboarded using the UPI apps by completing the onboarding procedure and linking their device, OBU or smartphone to a bank account, wallet, card. The customers using infotainment will be onboarded through their car app on smartphone. The device processes signal through GNSS chipset and communicates through eSIM. Imagine when a citizen travels on any toll highway, the GNSS server tells NPCI about the location data of the vehicle, such as the distance covered by that vehicle on the toll road. The distance vehicle must have covered, citizens will have to pay the same amount. NPCI server calculates the fare and interacts with the GNSS server, which tells acquiring bank to initiate the transaction. Acquiring bank initiates the process of collecting toll fare and passes on to NPCI switch. Then NPCI sends the transaction details to the issuer bank and receives the fare amount. And the transaction is completed by sending the collected fare to the toll plaza, from where the transaction originated, thus ensuring that customers will no longer need to wait at tolls. And it will also reduce the cost of toll infrastructure and manpower for the country. NPCI, making toll payment easier.
Well, now that you have seen the trailer of the solution, let's see and let me simplify that for you as well. Starting with who all would be the stakeholders first. So for this, the stakeholders, majorly there would be four ones. And just to start with, the first would be GNSS device providers. That would be three form factors here. Now, the main roles of them specifically would be the installation of the GNSS devices, maintaining of the GNSS server, and also initiating the transaction from the customer. Next comes the acquirer entity here, which in current ecosystem are being operated by banks, and this would be authorizing the transaction specifically. From there comes the role of NPCI, where we would be calculating the fare, processing the transaction, and also handling any sort of a dispute that might arise in the ecosystem. Finally, we also have the issue entity, which yet again is managed by banks here, and they would be integrating with the consumer device and also helping you maintain the customer wallet at the back end, so that whatever financial instrument that you have can be maintained, and any sort of a dispute that arises is where the issuer bank would be the face of the customer. So now you might think, okay, fine, I will zoom past by the toll plazas, but how will this system actually work? Who is going to detect me? And this is where the mechanism of a geofence actually comes into the picture. Now, as on the screen, you might see when a vehicle actually enters a geofence, it automatically gets detected by the GNSS server. A GNSS server is the server connected with the device at the back end. Today, if at all you are using any sort of a GNSS device, it has to be connected with a GNSS server, with you or without you being even known of it. And this is where this entire ecosystem would be operating specifically with the help of geofencing the entire highway toll stretch. Be it any type of toll plazas around, be it any sort of highways where toll is required, it will be geofenced, and this is how the system would depend upon. So, fine, we have reached towards the geofence, but then how will the fare be calculated? That's the mechanism here. Imagine a complete stretch of road. You have your normal toll plazas as in the current today. Now what would happen here specifically is the entire highway would be geofenced and the plazas would be marked. There are also some scenarios wherein today you might have some entry or exits in between the toll plazas which are currently unmanned, where there are no FASTag readers today. Since you would be having pay-as-you-use model, the system would work in something of a different way. Now here, entirely all the points would be marked, be it any sort of an entry or any sort of an exit. So let's suppose me as a user, I'm traveling from E2 to E3. What would happen here? Well, I would be passing, in today's scenario, one toll plaza, but actually I'm passing through a different distance from E2 to E3. Every highway network would have a pricing metrics, and based on that is wherein per kilometer fare would be stored, and every per kilometer travel that you do on that highway is where the fare would be calculated. And this is how the fare would be arrived by. But fine, this all is done, but what would be different types of GNSS devices that would come into the picture? Where majorly in the market currently we have two sort of devices. One, you'd call it as a fat client and one as a thin client, because not every system that is present or every device that is present in your vehicle would be an advanced enough. You'd have an option to buy different sort of devices. Even consider the example of a mobile. Today you have top-notch iPhones and you also have entry segment smartphones in the market. Similarly, you have top-notch GNSS devices and even the entry ones. They operate on quite a similar model as in fat client and thin client. In fat client, every calculation that is being done would be done on your device only, so that your entire location from the GNSS server, the information would not have to be sent to. Wherein coming to a thin client, it only be using the device information to communicate to the GNSS server. What would happen next? Well, here is what would happen next. Everything apart from happen or off the vehicle in the GNSS server, where the entire communication and transmission to the NPCI server would be taking place, and this is where the geofence detection would be happening. Next, moving on to standards and security, because for any transaction that happens today, the most important factor is trust. If you do not have trust, the transaction in digital medium does not hold any significance. And therefore, specifically for this, AIS 140 standards is what largely we are working on, because AIS 140 standards, which stands for Automotive Industry Standards 140, has already been mandated by the government in 2019, and every commercial vehicle today abides by this law. So this is where this entire law, which has already been mandated, would majorly be used across all the devices, across all the types of vehicles as well. Now in this, there are some forms of security which would be mandated as well. And that would specifically be your data security as well as data integration. Now, encryption of this data would be highly efficient, because any transaction that is coming from your GNSS server, passing through your acquirer bank, issuer bank, and NPCI network has to be encrypted, so that your data would be unique and it can be differentiated, so that there are no sort of a duplicate transactions, clone transaction, or any other thing, even if your system gets hacked. So therefore, specifically, this would be in compliance with the Indian law of data sharing and everything. We would also be following the standards specified by RBI, wherein UKPT, which stands for Unique Key Per Terminal, and derived Unique Key Per Terminal would specifically be used, so that your transaction can clearly be identified, and there would not be any sort of a malfunction practice specifically for it. Now you might be functioning, okay, fine, this is all good. How will this entire system go across and move forward? So specifically for this, the first important part would be the enforcement mechanisms. What if I am a user, I want to avoid the toll fares, I do not install in any device, and since there's no toll barrier to stop me, I'll just zoom past by. There would be nobody to stop me, right? It's quite easy. Yes, it is easy. And therefore, there would be some specific mechanisms which would come into the picture to stop them. And that would be wherein we would be using two additional technologies to complement this GNSS. And that would be ANPR, which stands for Automatic Number Plate Recognition, and DSRC, that stands for Direct Short Range Communication. This would be directly integrated inside the modules of the GNSS device. And ANPR, you would also have a gantry sort of a system at the toll plaza, wherein directly the number plates can be recognized on it. The more for it, specifically, we would be having a special panel discussion tomorrow, which you can be a part of and see how the entire NPR mechanism would be working on. Finally, coming to our main product, that is the launch of it. Well, the steps here, quite simple, but in a more deliberate way. Now for this, all the three form factors would be standardized. Why? Because I do not want that my infotainment in the car gives me a 98 rupees toll, my OBU gives me a 99 rupees, whereas my mobile gives me 100 rupees for the same distance. That should not be there. And therefore, we are having standardization across all the form factors. Next, specifically for this, we would be having the two important pillars of this, free flow tolling and pay-as-you-use model implemented. Finally, we would also be having issuing channels set up specifically by the BAMs. We would also have the UPI apps like Bheem, wherein the entire integration process would happen. And also your OEMs for your infotainment in the car would be helping through, so that the entire integration can be done smoothly. Once all of this is done, this would actually go live, wherein it would be launched in parallel to the FASTag, because FASTag is already an established system and it would be continuing. Gradually, the journey that the entire FASTag is saying is quite the journey, how the entire GNSS tolling would also see, wherein plaza-wise you would have lanes that would be open up for GNSS-based tolling, and gradually it would spread across all the toll plazas across the country. So this is specifically how we would have the future of tolling. So thank you for this. I know you might be wondering across what are the different sort of devices, who are the servers, or anything else that you might have. Feel free to ask.
Questions? Yes. Mike, please. I'm sure you all are very happy after knowing all about this presentation.
I think my name is Prasad Rautra. I'm from Airtel Payments Bank. First of all, I would like to congratulate NPCI for the wonderful job done in FASTag. As FASTag really catches up, I think we're coming with another new technology, which is very good. And of course, ANPR. My two questions. One is that there will be possibly a coexistence of all two or three is what I can sense, right? And therefore, how do you really make it sure that it is actually one technology at a point getting used? Because for consumers, you might have a car with a FASTag as well as a GPS already installed is one part of it. Second is there will be still some edge cases where maybe the wallet is there is no money, but still goes through. How do you actually take care? Having said that, I know these are less than 1%, 2%. It's obviously behavior is changing. FASTag has been an example, right? And third is, what are the timelines that you have in this particular category to, come in? I know some testings are happening, and we have been a part of a few discussions with you, but we'll be very happy to know when and how it is actually happening. So these are my 2 or 3 questions, if you can kindly let us know.
So, coming to your questions, firstly, when any lane has been enabled for GNSS-based tolling, there would not be any boom barrier in it. And similarly, there would not be any tag reader. So even if your vehicle has a FASTag and also a GNSS device embedded, there would be no tag reader and no boom barrier to stop you. So that if you're part of the program in the GNSS tolling in the initial days itself, you can avail it quite freely and smoothly. As the two important parameters that we say, free flow and pay as you use, you can use the total advantages of it. Secondly, yes, the journey would be quite similar to FASTag, as you said rightly. Now coming to the payment parts, yes, it would be as shown in the video here, in the prepaid mechanism as well. There would be various different sort of other mechanisms as well, which are currently being in pipeline and which we are working on, wherein if your wallet gets exhausted or in some other manner, there would be various upcoming mechanisms like an autopay itself, which you are currently getting into, which can also be leveraged and used in GNSS as well specifically, which can be used. Coming to timelines, well, this is a little work in progress currently and should be going quite soon.
You don't require toll plaza.
No, sir. So in GNSS system specifically, it would not be. Since the entire GNSS would be going stage-wise. It would not be that one day the entire thing went, just like the FASTag. Not entire country, all the lanes were enabled for FASTag. We had one lane specifically for FASTag, and gradually all the lanes started coming into the FASTag system. Similarly, it would be so. So when the entire system comes into GNSS, that toll plaza would not be required so. But as an enforcement mechanism, I would be requiring the ANPR gantries specifically at the toll plaza so that I can capture the vehicles who are trying to bypass the system in some sort of the manner.
How the money gets deducted in this process, because in FASTag you have the wallet. What is the procedure?
So here as well, a customer can have a wallet. Customer can also connect it through the UPI app specifically to get the payments done, as well as the existing wallet you can have specifically linked with the GNSS device with the issuer banks.
All right. Okay, we have one more question. Okay, so we are running short of time. We can take just one more question, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, you spoke about enforcement. So there was one scenario wherein, since we are talking about the moment this goes live, as a consumer, I will be just traveling without any obstacles.
Yeah.
So and the money is supposed to get deducted from my wallet or my bank account. So what if, since there is nobody to stop me and there's nothing in my wallet or a bank account, so how will that scenarios be? Because at the end of the day, the issuer carries a liability, right, of paying to the acquiring bank. So how have we factored that thing, or how will that be managed?
So let's say you do not have any sort of a digital payment instrument right now. You do not have a FASTag, you do not have a GNSS device, right? So in that scenario, the ANPR would automatically capture your number plate. That is getting recorded, and since that is now being recorded specifically, this is where the enforcement mechanism specifically is what the Indian law system would come into the picture. So a new enforcement mechanism would actually be coming into the picture wherein such cases can actually be covered as well.
Okay, and the second part was, will it require a complete overhaul of the existing FASTag ecosystem that is being developed by the banks, existing issuers, or will it in a way complement? So, for example, as an issuer, if I'm a ABC bank, at the end of the day, FASTag is a PPI. Most of the banks are issuing it as a PPI. So will it require me to completely overhaul it and move it to my existing CASA network? So basically, you said FASTag will be one, wallet will be one channel, Beam could be another. So at the end of the day, as a consumer, I would have an option to directly link my CASA to it also, right? If it's UPI, I can use my existing GPay handle or any handle that I use.
Yes, absolutely.
So how is that? How is that migration, or will there be a gradual migration, or are we saying that probably the FASTag form factor might change, but the backend might remain the same and complement the upcoming GNSS system?
Yeah, Vikas. So as you rightly said, the actual change or overall would only come in the form of form factor at the front end. At the back end, the existing instruments can be used. If the customer actually wants a new sort of an instrument, they can also get it integrated with the bank as per their convenience. So they do not have to use any other overall in the system.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I think if you can ask quickly, we can take one more question.
Sure.
Like even if my car is not going through a toll plaza, you will need to know what my vehicle is, because you want to know when I'm crossing the geo fence for you to start the meter, so to speak, right? So you are actually tracking my vehicle even if I never go to a toll plaza for next 2 years.
Okay. So, sir, I'll answer that question in two parts. Firstly, your data would come to NPCI server or the banking system only when you enter an highway. If you're not on a highway, your data would not enter the system. Secondly, sir, you still use mobile, right? Your location services might be on. Google is still monitoring you. So it's not that the entire system would be monitoring you while you're sitting in your car or maybe at your home. That would not be the case.
There are lawsuits on Google right now going on. So
So how your entire GNSS server would work specifically is whenever your vehicle is actually running in and what is your agreement specifically with your GNSS server. That's it. So that would actually take care of the privacy system.
So if I may just add, it is all about the geo fences that we are trying to create, right? Once you have the geo fence, it kind of gives you the significance of when the consumer needs to be tracked and for what purpose. So if in case the geo fence is created around, let's say a national highway, the communication to the consumer is that you are entering into the national highway and you're going to be charged pay-per-use, and therefore you're going to be sort of getting tracked for the moment you're going to be on the NH.
no, but I think that's the point, right? A minute before me entering the highway, you need to know that I'm about to enter the highway to notify me that I'm entering
No,
the
no,
highway.
that's the beauty of this whole solution, right? I mean, you need not know throughout the journey. Like I mentioned, we are having a static geofence. When we have the static geofence, it is the periphery that we have created of the plaza or the road that you want to charge for, right? As and when the vehicle enters, and these so-called geofences are also sitting in the
Devices.
devices,
Okay,
the
got
OBU devices. So as and when the device figures that it is coming or within that geography of that periphery, it will start tracking and it will start communicating with the consumer.
So this, just to add it up, the tracking would only happen on your highways. That's it.